Robocop is a series that I am personally conflicted with. The first one is a pretty decent movie that had a lot to say even for its time. It is bloody to hell and back, and it feels like a movie that could be applied today. It has a nice blend of seriousness and humor to it, and don't say that this movie isn't goofy. Come on, did you forget the final battle was just a stupid ass robot not knowing how to go down the stairs so it fucking falls over and whines like a baby? Overall, it's like a 9 out of 10 movie. I really do enjoy it. The second movie, even though I would say it's inferior to the first one, some people are going to hate me for this, but it's not a bad sequel to follow up the original. It's a good mixture of goofy and seriousness, but you can see the gradual shift to a more goofy Robocop. A kid dies, so I think that's pretty cool. It's like a 7.5. The third one is not as bad as a lot of people say it is, but it still is pretty awful with its hypocritical message about children's shows capitalizing off of children toys. Meanwhile, the movie was shifted to a PG-13 rating because they wanted to shove stupid ass attachments for Robocop to have for their toy figures. It's the most expensive one out of the trilogy, and it looks worse than the original. It looks like a failed TV show that got stretched out into a movie runtime. At the start of this movie and onward, you can see the amount of hypocrisy just adding up, and with each installment you can just see the quality just actively going down and down until it's nothing. But Robocop does some dumbass shit, so at least I can laugh at how bad it is, so I would consider it a 4 out of 10. Then there's a black sheep of the Robocop movies. Literally. It's a confused mess of a reboot that has some good ideas here and there, but it takes every opportunity to shit on the original, meanwhile also following the same beat as the original, just with extra steps, and as if it's supposed to be a legally distinct version of a Robocop movie that they clearly didn't want to make. It sucks ass. It can't get simpler than that. It's hypocritical with its messages at best, and boring as fuck at worst. Luckily, this game ignores a reboot, so me talking about this is fucking pointless. But at least I can maybe save one person from seeing that boring ass movie. This movie is a 2 out of 10. I just fucking hate this movie. I have gone through the good, the bad, and the ugly with this franchise, and have gained a sense of respect for at least the first 2 movies. But I can say with great confidence that Robocop Rogue City does Robocop justice. The number one thing that I have to say is that this game does wonderful recreations of the original movie's world to a T. It's not a game where you have to know the movies inside and out, but it is pretty cool as a Robocop movie enjoyer to see returning characters being recreated, sites being faithfully reconstructed, and in Unreal Engine's 5 beautiful glory. And having the original Robocop actor to come back to reprise his role is a sign that you know that this is in the right hands. At least that's one point that goes to this game over Robocop 3. I generally do believe that this game was made as a passion project, and I do respect them for putting so much work into these gorgeous environments and models. Prop to the people involved. The humor of the original is intact, which I have to say, this game has to be one of the most funniest games to come out for a while. It keeps its tone serious, but there is an overall tone of goofiness when it needs to be.
Public drinking is against the law.
Public? But this is my private sofa. I've dragged it all the way from the junkyard.
I think I dropped my key somewhere. You'd have to break down this hardened door if you want to get in.
That will not be a problem.
Hey! This shit is rigged!
That's a serious accusation, kiddo. Someone might think I would allow such illegal activity in my high-class business, which I do not. I get lost.
This is mostly associated with the side characters, where they have some of the worst voice acting I have ever heard, but in a so bad that it's good way.
Sunblock is the least of your worries.
Look, I know why you're here, but I'm innocent! I swear!
It knows when to be serious, and it knows how to be goofy when it needs to. It solely knows the original duology's tone, which is something that I can't say about the last 2 movies, you stupid piles of shit. This game may be extremely polished visually, but you have to keep in mind that this is not an indie game nor a AAA game. It is, by the words of many, a rare breed of video game. A AA video game. A lot of things may seem polished when it comes to the graphics, but there is a sense of resources being spent into other places of the game, such as models being extremely detailed and extremely accurate to their film counterparts, but also having very stilted movements and mediocre acting at times. The gameplay is very punchy and brutal, but it also has glitches and pop-in that can be both fun and distracting at times, but there is an element of passion for the original films that should not go unnoticed. The plot is pretty interesting that calls back to the original films without being derivative. This game explores more of the trauma that Robocop still has from his previous life. It explores more of the human side of him that is still in there, and it's up to the player to decide if you want to show a more human Robocop or a more robotic Robocop. Either serve the corporation who made you by wanting to take down the same city that you've been protecting and the people that you've been working with, or to protect the city from being overrun by the same corporations that made you. Are you more robotic and apathetic like the higher ups, or are you more sympathetic and human and want to fight the mega corporations? I mean, I think personally the choice is pretty obvious, but it is cool that you can go this apathetic route with Robocop. The side missions are honestly really enjoyable. The side characters have a good amount of depth to them, and the game's graphics are honestly really good looking for a company who has only made one other well-known game, and games that I swear don't exist. Well, thank God we have the developers of Crazy Chicken's Director's Cut. Wait, what the fuck? This game is filled with content. It took me around 18 hours to fully complete this game with occasional side content. I didn't do all the side content because I would be here all day, but the side content that was there felt more genuine and interesting than most open world side content. Most people, if you don't do the side content, it takes you around 10 hours to beat, but I do encourage doing a few side missions just because they're enjoyable most of the time. I cannot overstate how much I love the overly bloody and violent nature of this game. There are some times where my little concerning ape brain goes wild over these gore mechanics. I mean, look at this shit. From shooting people's heads off, throwing shit at people, which make them fucking fling everywhere, exploding people into a red mist, and just throwing people in general is so much fun. It's just so great to pull off, and it falls in line heavily with what made Robocop so memorable. The choices themselves are interesting when you do have to decide if you want to show that Robocop does consider himself a human in a robot's body, or a robot who thinks that he is a human. It falls in line with his previous struggles in the Robocop movies, and I think it's very in line with his character. Now to the negatives, which I do have some complaints. This game crashed a few times on me, and there are a lot of technical bugs when it comes to ragdolls, pop-in, etc. It is a very janky game. Most areas run fine, but even on a 3070, in some areas it would just drop below 30 frames at times, which can be annoying, but luckily I was playing with a controller, so it didn't really feel too terrible. The game can feel like it overstays its welcome towards the end. Sure, there's a wide variety of enemies to take on, but it feels like the progression system in this game doesn't really improve Robocop itself when it comes to what he can do, and I'm not recommending giving him a dumbass jetpack or flamethrower, but some sort of ability being earned down the line that fits nicely with what Robocop would be a nice addition. I just feel like the developers are too confident in the abilities that you had at the beginning, and it sort of gives the vibes that they're confident that it wouldn't get boring after 18 hours of essentially doing the same stuff. I don't know, I think it just got more repetitive towards the end. Going to the same cities over and over is a bit grating too, since you have a metal turtle to deal with. There is a dash button, but even that has a cooldown, so you have to deal with him slowly walking around everywhere, which fits his bulky nature. I mean, just look at them childbirthing hips. But at least let me drive around in the car at least. The choices matter in this game is crucial, but the political party part wasn't really. Sure, it's interesting to either vote for someone that does not value you, but will stop the mega corporations from taking down an urban neighborhood in favor of a middle class one, or to vote for someone who does value you, but in the process wants to take down the city that you want to protect. But in the end, it feels like most of this is half-assed, and it only really appears at the ending. I feel like this game is mostly easy to go through, even on the highest difficulty, but then there will be moments where the game will sort of soft lock you in a spot where you have low health and you don't have the resources to properly get out of that soft locked area, so you have to die over and over until eventually you want to get to the next area because it doesn't reload your health when you die. Sure, you can put resources into health, but you'll have to dedicate most of your points just to gradually get your health back. And having 25% of your health being reloaded loaded back. Sure, it may keep you going for a little bit, but that's just chump change in this game. The skill tree system, by the way, is kind of weak in comparison to other games. The only ones I think are worth it are armor, health, combat, and slow-mo. The other ones don't really have a purpose, and I feel like they were there as a way to make their skill tree look as if it's providing more options than what it really is. Overall, this game may be flawed, but damn do I love it. Despite the few graphical and gameplay hiccups, I cannot overlook how faithful this game feels to the source material. It actually feels like you took those characters from the movies and slapped them onto this game. The gameplay is great and brutal, if a bit repetitive towards the end. It's violent, it has a decent story that is faithful to the Robocop franchise. And overall, this game is so great at bringing back a classic character. Get this game for a discount, I will be giving this game a solid 8 out of 10. I really think that you should check this game out if you haven't. It's that damn good.
I'd buy that for $1.
Anyway, subscribe if you want to, like if you want to, even comment if you want to. I don't care, you do you, and have a good day.